And then I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Let me know. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I can. I imagine others can.
Great. So I'll just say a word or two. So Hyperledger has a code of conduct. This is on the Hyperledger wiki. This applies to any community activity that happens either online or in person. You know, this applies to our events that we hold in person, as well as events we hold online, as well as any activities that happen in the community. The development of the projects, any conversations that happen on any of the communication channels. And it's basically our way of saying that if you want to get involved in Hyperledger, we take it very seriously that, providing a positive collaboration environment for anybody who is interested in getting involved. That's very important for us. So, I don't need to, read through this. I just wanted to share that it's there and available. I did drop a link in the chat. Please do take a look. And so just two things, there are some things that we ask people to do in terms of treating others respectfully in the community. And if you ever see anybody not do these things, if there is any, examples of people not treating people with respect, we do have a process of addressing that. So, you can follow the details in here. If you see anything of that nature in your involvement in the community, or I'm here to support, you're always welcome to reach out to me as well. So just to share that that's there. And, as we said before, it could be a good practice to just, anytime we do a meetup, maybe just to remind people of this. And again, this is a public document on the wiki. You're welcome to share it out and read through it, at any point as well. But that was it. I just wanted to share that was there, and just so everybody has that information. So I will stop my share. Great. If there's any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them. If not, please, feel free to move on with the first presentation.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the code of conduct? All right. Thank you very much, David. For the benefit of those that may be new in this community / on this call, the person who just spoke is David Boswell. He's the Global Director for Ecosystem at Hyperledger, and he's the one that coordinates the Africa chapter in addition to all other global chapters around the world. Thank you very much, David, for that introduction. Today's agenda is just about 3 or 4 items, okay? We're going to kick off with about 5 minutes of updates about the Hyperledger Africa chapter. I will take that, and I should be done in 5 minutes maximum. We will then take a presentation by Ogbonna, Increasing Supply Chain Efficiency. We have a time slot of 20 minutes for that. And then we have another presentation by Mr. Oumar Fall from Senegal. Uche is from Nigeria. The second speaker is from Senegal. His name is Oumar Fall, and he will be presenting on Fabric Network Overview. The first presentation is more of a business overview and business blockchain presentation, while the second one by Oumar is a technical blockchain presentation. And then the fourth and last item on the list is questions and answers. We'll give the general audience, as many people as are on the call, the opportunity to ask questions about what they've heard from the 2 speakers. So thank you very much, everyone. And once again, you're welcome to the second All Africa Hyperledger meetup, even though it's virtual. So 1 second while I share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Can you still see it?
I do, yeah.
All right. Thank you. So I'll just breeze through this. Just a couple of updates. We all know the Hyperledger family. For those of us that don't know, just pay attention to the labels on the sections of the greenhouse that you can see. So we call the family of Hyperledger products, we call it the Hyperledger greenhouse. And then you have the section for distributed ledgers, which we can describe in detail in another session. We have the section for libraries, which are more like back-end services that support the distributed ledgers. We have tools, which are like management tools and configuration tools and provisioning tools for the distributed ledgers. And then we have domain-specific and labs. All right. This is just a schematic representation of the global chapter structure for Hyperledger. The latest chapter, we can say that we are the youngest chapter, we're the latest chapter to be added. And previously, there have been chapters for Arabia, Asian, as we know, Asian stands for Southeast Asia, Brazil, India, Latin American, and Mediterranean chapters. All right. In Africa so far, we have had one meetup in which we had 7 meetup groups present: Cape Town, Joburg, Durban, Nairobi. Cape Town, Joburg, Durban in South Africa, Nairobi in Kenya, Dakar in Senegal, Cairo in Egypt, Lagos, Nigeria. 5 countries and just about approximately 1,500 combined membership. Looking ahead, we would like to throw this open to the group. Perhaps during the Q&A session, this can be a talking point. We can together decide as a group how frequently do we want to meet. Right now, we're meeting about once every 2 months, but we can decide as a group and let that be the target. We also want to know want to set a goal for ourselves. Right now, we have 5 countries represented out of 50 countries on the African continent. How many countries do we want to have by December 2020? How many countries do we want to have by June 2021? And so on and so forth. Combined membership as well as a target. We can look at that together. Project highlights. I would like to highlight a Hyperledger identity project that is owned and being promoted by one of our members, or rather, the ADAF, the African Digital Asset Framework, is an initiative led by the Kenyan coordinator of the Hyperledger community in Kenya. His name is Eddie Kago, and the URL is there for anyone who's interested. Essentially, Kweli is an identity management framework. So think about the traditional issues around identity in Africa. So many people are not captured, so many people are not recognized, are not represented in any database anywhere. And he has provided a solution that can help with those things. Africa-based, made for Africa, by Africa. All right, training and certifications. As we discussed in previous sessions, the field of blockchain, it's no secret anymore that blockchain is one of the most lucrative skills to acquire. Further, Hyperledger is the leading enterprise blockchain product on the market. Hyperledger is dominating the market. The implication of that domination is that opportunities for 1, technical Hyperledger skills; 2, business and project management Hyperledger skills; and 3, Hyperledger training skills are opening up all over the world. So wherever there is a new enterprise that is adopting Hyperledger for their blockchain aspirations, you can be sure that opportunities are opening up in those places. Therefore, there are certain tracks available on the Hyperledger training website, as a section of the general Hyperledger website, that allow people who aspire to acquire these skills to subscribe to these courses. Some of them are on Coursera, some of them are embedded in the Hyperledger website, and you can avail yourselves of these courses and acquire these certifications. All right. Events update. This is our second meetup so far. And these are the details of the first one: 25 attendees, 2 technical sessions. The video is available and held on April 30th. So that's me in giving the update in 5 minutes. Thank you very much. I will now present Mr. Uche's screen. Uche, are you ready? You can unmute yourself.
Okay, I am ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Is this your screen?
Yes, I can see my screen very well.
All right,
I
so
can
just
see it.
Just say next when you're ready.
Okay. So thanks, Mr. Ido, for that very elaborate introduction. My name is Ogbonna. I'm the co-lead of Hyperledger community alongside Mr. Ido, Nigeria. So today I will be presenting an overview of supply chain efficiency as in benefits of blockchain and supply chain efficiency. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so first off, I will be giving an introduction on what a blockchain is basically, okay? So first off, a blockchain is a decentralized database, okay, that records transactions that takes place on a network. Data is recorded and approved by participants on the network. We have public blockchains. For example, we have Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin runs on a public blockchain. Then we have a private blockchain, which is our Hyperledger, and some other platforms too that run on private blockchains. Okay, private blockchains are not out there compared to public blockchains that can be accessed by anybody. Okay, so approved data is collected into blocks and is stored permanently on the chain through encryption using public and private keys. Okay, so basically private blockchains now, which is going to be our focus, is used by the finance industry, is used by supply chains, is used by healthcare, is used by manufacturing industries also. So my focus is going to be on supply chain. Okay, next slide, please. So basically, blockchain is also a shared ledger database, which means that it's not centralized in the sense that basically databases are centralized. It's controlled by just one server, unlike blockchain that the servers are decentralized. Okay, and one or more users actually send data. Okay. And before a data is recorded into a block, it has to be approved by one or more users to ensure transparency. Okay. So basically, regarding supply chain, blockchain actually helps the supply chain process to track parts, okay, and services. Okay. It also helps in ensuring the authenticity of goods. It also helps to prevent product counterfeiting and reduce conflicts. So next slide, please. So basically, I will be deep diving on the concept of a blockchain. Okay, most of us in this presentation, we actually have an idea on what blockchain is and the benefits of a blockchain. So now I will be defining what a supply chain is. So I'll also explain how blockchain is going to actually help supply chain process to be more efficient. Okay, so basically, what is a supply chain? A supply chain is an end-to-end process, okay, from planning and purchase of raw materials to its conversion to finished goods, to its storage and distribution to customers and eventually the consumers. Okay, it is also basically the flow and conversion of information, data, and materials from the suppliers down to the consumers. So if we can see a diagram just below. Okay, we can see planning, we can see procurement, we can see production, we can see logistics and reverse logistics. So I want to run this through quickly because we don't really have much time on our side. So basically, the supply chain process starts from planning. Okay, for example, I'm going to use, let me use a familiar industry that we're all familiar with. Okay, all of us, we all have phones. Okay, so let me just use a Samsung phone company as an example. Okay, so fine. A phone company, for example, they make phones, okay, for the customers to sell. Okay, so basically, the supply chain is the process that ensures that that particular phone you're seeing is sent out to the customers. So I'm going to start with planning. So basically, before you produce a product, you have to plan for the particular product. So I'm going to use the phone, for example. For example, a phone is made up of components. A phone is made up of raw materials, okay? The raw materials in this sense is the phone screen, the chips in the phone, the earpiece, the microphone, the software, so on and so forth. Those are the components, those are the materials that make up the phone. So where planning comes in, the business does a demand analysis, okay? They run a forecast, a demand forecast to know what the public wants, okay? They get data from sales and marketing and now say, okay, for example, this is what the public wants. The public is demanding for 300,000 Samsung phones for this particular month. So where planning now comes in, planning now plans the demand and say, okay, fine, we need to produce 300,000 phones. So how are we going to do it? Okay, first off, planning is going to plan. They're going to plan on the raw materials, okay, that they're going to purchase to actually make these 300,000 pieces of phones a reality, okay? So when they actually plan on the raw materials to buy, which encases the screen, the keypad, okay, the software that is installed on the phone, so on and so forth, when they plan, and now it is now the 300,000 units are broken down into components, okay? So when it's broken down into components, we now move to the next stage. Can you circle the procurement? There's a procurement after the planning. Yes, exactly. So we now move to the next stage. No, not the next slide. Sorry, can you go back? Yes. So we now move to the procurement stage, okay? This is where the procurement department now procures those materials. They procure the raw materials, they procure the screens, they procure the keypads, they procure the applications from the application companies that services the phones. Like, for example, Android. Android is a separate platform from Samsung, okay? They'll actually procure the service, okay? Then they procure the screens, the packaging, the cartons that are used to package the phone. They procure the amount that is actually meant to service the 300,000 units, okay? Then from procuring the materials, we now move to production, which is the third stage, okay? Production is the third stage. So the production is where these units, okay, are assembled together. They are assembled and produced and made into the final product, okay? So now after production, when the phones are packaged into the final product, we now move to logistics. This is where the final products are delivered to the customers, okay? The customers here are not the consumers. The customers here are the people that sell to the consumers, okay? The consumers here are the distributors, okay? Let's just say example, these are phone shops, okay? The customers are are people that sell the phones to consumers like us, okay? So from the distributors, the product now goes back to the consumers, okay, which is us. So we are the last, okay, but we are like near the last stage, which will take us to reverse logistics. So what reverse logistics is all about is, for example, if there are some bad and damaged goods, okay, those bad and damaged goods are taken back to the business, okay, and accounted for. They're taken back to the business and accounted for, and they are replaced eventually, okay? So reverse logistics is very, very important because this is the part of the supply chain that ensures customer satisfaction. If a customer does not get a good product, the customer is not happy. But when the product is returned and replaced and supplied back to the customer in record time, the customer is happy and business goes on as usual. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? So this is basically the last slide was just basically talking about the supply chain process. So the value proposition has to do with the advantages that blockchain provides to the supply chain process. So the first is consensus, okay? Consensus in the sense that as we are moving from the planning to procurement to production to logistics, the same set of data is used between multiple parties. And the blockchain service is going to ensure that when we are passing data from the planning stage to the procurement stage, to the production stage, we are using the same set of data, and data is not being scattered all over the place, okay? So then for provenance, This means a single shared source of truth, which means we are using a singular source of data. We are not picking data from different sources. Even if we are picking and collecting data from different sources, everything is in the same blockchain, okay? We are running it in a single end-to-end entity, which is the blockchain. Then for immutability, this is tamper-proof and audit trail. Blockchain ensures that the supply chain process from the planning stage to the logistics stage, okay, that there is a trail, there's an audit trail, okay? So data cannot be manipulated along the line. Okay, fine. I have 5 minutes to go, so I have to be really fast, okay? So for transparency, transactions are transparent. For every transaction that is being uploaded in the blockchain server regarding logistics, regarding procurement, regarding production, okay, it is transparent, okay? For example, when an end product is produced, okay, on the blockchain platform, we have serial numbers on every pack of phone that is produced. You can actually use the serial number, okay, plug it in the blockchain and know exactly when your phone was produced, exactly when it was shipped out. Okay, this will actually help to prevent fraud, and it will also actually help to detect original phones from fake or imitated phones, okay? Then for tracking, transactions can be tracked to the exact time and dates through timestamps on the blockchain. Then for security, blockchain ensures that we have advanced data security in the database, on our blockchain database. Next slide, please. So this is a case study. We are actually short of time, but I'm going to just breeze through this quickly. So the case study here is ABC Foods, an FMCG company that specializes in the production of consumable snacks and drinks. The shelf life of their products are short in order to preserve the freshness of the product, okay? So how will a blockchain-enabled system help support this business? Next slide, please. Okay, so basically the blockchain technology coupled with the ability to program business logic and the use of smart contracts, okay? What is a smart contract? A smart contract is like a rule, it's like a program saying, like, it's like a what if, it's like an if else program saying, if this is done, do this. If this is done, do that. If not, do this, okay? So it ensures transparency into the provenance of consumer goods, okay? From the source point to the end consumption, thereby reducing counterfeiting and fraud. I explained that earlier, okay? Accurate asset tracking. This will basically help in tracking supply chain assets, which has to do with the supply chain production machines, the trucks used in distribution, and the raw materials, the components of the product. Enhance traceability and accountability to the movement of goods and stock. It also encourages enhanced supply chain business processes that can help cut costs from supply chain infrastructure. This is basically saying that the implementation of the blockchain to help your supply chain process is going to actually help you cut costs, okay? Streamline workflow. It's going to help streamline workflow for all supply chain parties, no matter how complex or large the business network is, okay? The blockchain is actually going to help break down our supply chain processes, no matter how complex they are, into simpler processes, okay? It's going to break them down and make the business more easier, okay, to run through, thereby enabling radical simplicity. So the last one is, it's going to help provide auditors with greater visibility. This is very, very key. For me, based on experience, auditors have had this issue, okay, tracking transactions that goes on in the supply chain. For example, when procurement purchases goods from suppliers, there are a lot of issues regarding collating the transactions, okay. Also, when there are production orders from the factory, okay, to the warehouse, they have issues tracking these transactions, okay. But with an implemented and installed blockchain, this is going to actually help the auditors to easily track transactions across the supply chain process. This is going to eventually reduce fraud within the supply chain, if there is any at all. And it's also going to help for successful auditing and a more transparent supply chain process. Next slide, please. So I think I'm done, and I was done in good time. So for questions, I think we are going to take the questions after Oumar Fall's presentation. Okay. So I think I am done with my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So thank you very much. Over to you, Dou.
All right, thank you very much, Uche. That was really insightful. I learned some new things about supply chain today and the importance of blockchain for helping that. Can you guys hear me?
I can
if
hear
you
you.
hear me, just type yes into the chat. All right, perfect. Okay, so Uche also did well. You finished 2 minutes ahead of time, so kudos for that. All right, Oumar, are you ready?
Yes. Hello.
Right.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so go ahead and share your slides and
My screen. Okay, I am doing it in 1, 2, 3, 4. So, okay, let me share the presentations and grab the screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Hello, everyone, and welcome at the second meetup of Africa, of Hyperledger Africa. I start by saying that I'm not an English speaker, so maybe sometime I will not make myself as clear as I could be in French, but you'll understand and excuse my English. So on to the presentations. As you see, I'm the lead of the Hyperledger Senegal chapter of Hyperledger Africa. My name is Oumar Fall, and I am a blockchain enthusiast. I say because I don't like the term blockchain expert, but because it's a very overused term. I'm working at Atos, a multinational company, and inside the Atos company, we have something we call the expert community. The expert community is made of approximately 2,000 and 700 person expert. And inside of that, we have a blockchain chapter, subdomain, I should say. And I'm I'm leading the blockchain subdomain inside the Atos community, expert community. And beside that, I try to share the little knowledge I've acquired on the blockchain and particularly the Hyperledger frameworks. And this is my Twitter handle if you want to follow along on things I sometimes share. And if you are a French speaker, maybe you can too join our meetup chapter or Hyperledger Senegal. That's for the presentation. Now, on to the real thing. What is Hyperledger Fabric? As you heard earlier, Hyperledger is an initiative comprised of many tools, many platforms, many blockchain platforms, many companies. It's very big, so you cannot be good at all of what it is, what he has to offer. So I choose to specialize in the Hyperledger Fabric framework because mainly it's something open source. I'm someone who like the open source paradigm, and I do open source and Linux for about 12 years. And why Hyperledger Fabric? Because it's a mature framework and it is enterprise oriented. And that for a company like the one in which I am working in, it's something very important, because you see it earlier. Hyperledger Fabric is used in very big project in supply chains. It is used by company like Maersk. It is used by company like the NASA for very diverse type of applications and a very broad set of industry use case. And why should you should ask everyone in the industry want to work with the Hyperledger Fabric platform, because it has some significant advantages, and some of which are plug and play components. As you are going to see in my next slides, in every section or every layer of the platform, the bricks are composable. It's highly modular, and all the consensus are pluggable. The smart contract are interchangeable, and really you will see that that the framework is really flexible, and it really that's why it is something that big enterprises trust in to use in their regular use cases, I should say. And one other thing we can show us why it is a preferred platform, because Fabric is evolving, and it is evolving fast. It's the first stable project of the Hyperledger Foundation, and it exists for far long, that July 2007, as you can see. Let me just grab the pointer. Yes, as you can see here, the first version, it is like I say, the first version of the Hyperledger platform who gain stability. It's the first to have the version 1.0 in July 2017, and it have really evolved and improved overall in time. So I just picked some example of evolution I think are significant. It's not the only significant one, but for me it's something I think is worth highlighting. The number one is the pluggable endorsement and validation. As I say earlier, Fabric is modular. It's very modular. The endorsement policies are pluggable. The consensus are pluggable. And various other things. And also, for one example, the private data collection, because enterprise often want to have privacy in the data they exchange. Maybe as an example, it's a transaction where we just have to show proof of what we have and not show what really we have, because it's an information we don't want to share with our competitor, even though we are in the same network. As a pluggable and modularity, here we can see that we can write smart contracts in Fabric with the Solidity smart contract language. And the Solidity, I suppose many of you know that Solidity comes from the Ethereum blockchain. So if you are coming from another blockchain platform, you can use the most important things, of the heart of your business, which is the smart contract you have already written and verified, and you can start from there. And I think in a business perspective, the smart contract is something very, very important to have and to reuse. And Java support as a chain code writing language has been acquired in the version 1.3, which is published in 2018. The operation services, and I like to highlight that in the 1.4 version of Fabric, we have very, very, very enterprisey functionality who have been added. And the LTS, the long-term support, has come along with the version 1.4. Yes, and the operation services. The operation are some endpoint who have been added in the platform as to managing the log, as to managing the operation of the blockchain itself, the logging, the performances and such. And in the version 2, who have been published in January 2009, you have seen that here we have unplugged the previous consensus mechanism, because before the 2.0 version, we used the Apache Kafka as a mechanism for the consensus and for the ordering network. But Apache Kafka is as performant as it can be and is very, very difficult to maintain and to operate for many of us. So people did make the choice of removing the Apache Kafka and replace it by the Raft consensus. And this has been possible because of the modularity of the framework, because of his architecture. We could remove one consensus mechanism and replace it by Raft. Raft is not, I think, the definitive consensus, because we are gearing toward some other consensus mechanism, like the practical Byzantine proof of voilà. And in the version 2.02, we have at last the Alpine based Docker images, because they were used for not, they were the usual Docker images. And the biggest change, I should say, for the enterprise orientation of Fabric is the chain code governance and life cycle. This is huge. It's a line like this, but it is huge. It's something which we say before deploying a smart contract inside the network. Every participant who can vote for that chain code beforehand. Before the 2 version, the participant in the network just have the choice to reject or accept the smart contract. But with this change, the life change governance and life cycle, we have the smart contract with a piece, like I said earlier, with a very, very important, the central piece, I should say, in the business network. We can vote beforehand and we can manage it, all the peers as an entity, and decide before the chain code is installed in the Fabric network. So I proceed by showing you quickly an overview of the architecture, the final architecture of Hyperledger Fabric. And I explain quickly what each piece is. So here you can see the, before I explain, I just have to remind you that Fabric is unpermissioned ledger. So every member of every participant of the ledger are identified and sometimes vetted. So members must pass via an identification process via that piece which is the MSP, or the membership service provider. That piece is, as many others are, is central, because you cannot participate in the network if anybody knows who you are and if you are not accepted in the network. So the MSP is the membership service provider. We'll see each piece in my next slides. Beside the MSP, we have the peers. The peers are, let's say, the participant of the network. I have to say that the peers can be seen as the enterprise who are participating in the network, or a company can have 2 or more peers in its own possession, because we have two types of peers who are different. You have leader peers and following peers and such things. And beside the peers who are here, we have the OSN, the Ordering Service Network. The ordering service is one of the important piece of the network. Now, the ordering service, we will see later what they are doing. We have the peer and the ordering network who can communicate via a protocol called the gossip protocol. It's a peer-to-peer protocol for the nodes who want to replicate or to change the leader elections, such things. And here you can see we have the applications, the green applications and the blue one. We have the SDK, and because the application can only communicate to the blockchain via SDKs. If you are a programmer, you know what SDKs are. SDKs, if I can explain it simply, are kinds of libraries ready written, which you can use. Those SDK are written in Java or JavaScript or Go, and you can use it in your application to communicate with the network. In the SDK, you can have function to identify yourself. It's the first function, I say, because it's you have to be identified to communicate. So one of the first function is to grab your credential and present it to the MSP and get some recognitions. I will explain later why the application is green or blue. What are the significance of the color we are here. So I pass to the components of the Fabric network. The first and major piece of the component of the network is the orderer. The orderer is at the genesis of the network. With the chain code, the system chain code, and the orderer, you can start to build your network. So what is the role of the orderer? It accepts transactions and deliver blocks. It receives transaction from ordering from the peers, from the committing peers or the endorsing peers, and he replicates, he validates it and replicate to an order like the name shows. It orders the block and the information inside the blocks and give them back to the peer so they can put it in their ledger, because the ledger or the blockchain is inside the peers. But more on that later. An ordering service like we saw here is it can be a physical computer, or it can be a virtual machine, or it can be even a Docker image. But for some serious production deployment, it sure is a physical machine inside the company network or in the cloud, on the cloud. But that is for another day. Another one of the other important piece of the block of the network is the peers. Every participant is a peer, and even some participants do have many peers. And we have actually it's two main peers, endorser and committer. But we have a third peer who is not yet implemented, but so I'm not going to talk about it now. A peer maintain the state of the ledger. When he got the ordered block from the orderer here, when he got them back, he put them in the ledger. The ledger will discuss about it in the next slide, and we have the committing and the endorsing peer. Like I say, the endorser is a peer which is receiving request from the application we see here, and submit some kind of pre-check or pre-validation of the transaction before submitting to the orderer to order via the timestamp or of the transaction. It's I don't have time to go into the details, but okay. So the ledger, which is the component who is here, is something we can see in this slide. And the ledger
excuse me, Oumar.
Yes.
Okay, so technically speaking, your time is up. How many more slides do you have?
Technically, I have 8 minutes in my timer.
So it's 20 minutes, and you started at 30. You started at the 0:30 mark. Okay, so
okay, I'll do it fast. 2 minutes.
Okay. If you can just run through them quickly so that we can have space for Q&As. Okay. Before you do that, everybody, if you have any questions, please put your questions in the chat window or just jot them somewhere, and then when it's done, we'll take them. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So the ledger keep the state of the network, the various states of an asset is monitored by the blockchain. One other component I wanted to show really fast is the membership service provider, which is in combination with the certificate authority, which is the peers who are giving access or rejecting the peers who are trying to connect to the network. So it's a central piece for any private blockchains. Other things which is very important is the consensus. The consensus is a process by which the peers provide a guaranteed ordering transaction. Just very quickly, and consensus may be if 50% of the peers agree on one thing, one truth, then that is the truth you have to write inside. Then that truth we can write in the database, in the ledger. If for a computation, 5 out to 10 peers find the same result, then that result is the truth and we can write it in the ledger. So the consensus is just the rules by which the members transact, and the consensus is written in the smart contract. And the smart contract is, I say, is just a written business rules where all the peers agreed upon before starting the network. They all got the same copy of the smart contract. They read it and agree on the content of it, and then we can start transacting. Just to very quick say that in Fabric, the chain code are written in very common programming language, Java, JavaScript, and Go. Beside the possible use of Solidity and other, and that is the end of my presentations. 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Oumar.
You're welcome.
Don't say anymore that your English is not good.
Okay,
it's good enough.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think the other thing to say,
thank you.
If I'm correct, Oumar, this is part 1 of a 2-part series, right?
Yes.
Okay, so guys, you can watch out for more in-depth technical details on this same Hyperledger Fabric technical presentation in the next meetup. Yeah. All right. I think someone is asking a question, but this person's handle is a bit cryptic. Can you tell us your name? S4L10U. Which language is more beneficial in practice for smart contracts? I think that's a question for you, Oumar. But can the person type their name as well so that we know who you are? S4L10U.
I answer, or he give us his name first?
No, no worry. Just go ahead. I mean, the person will type it if they want. They'll type their name.
Just use the language. With Fabric, use the language which are provided, because it's an enterprise thing. So Java developers are abundant in the market. JavaScript developers are abundant in the market. So if you have to search for a Solidity developer, it's a little bit tougher for enterprise. So just if it was me, I do not do Java, but if it was me, I recommend to learn how to write smart contracts with Java if you intend to use it with Fabric.
All right, thank you. The other gentleman, the person's name, I don't know, is a gentleman or a lady, is Salu. All right, thank you. So Siriman Konari is asking a question. Sometimes I am confused about peer and organization. Can you explain it a little bit?
A peer is just a representation. As I say earlier, a company, an organization can have many physical machine. If we choose to have 3 or 4 peers, he can have them. A peer is not does not reflect the number of organizations who are participating in the network. An organization may have three computers. Even those computers can be physical machine or can be virtual machine inside a computer, inside a physical one, or they can be peers inside AWS, because I've installed peers inside the GCP, Google Cloud, or inside Amazon. It's not. It's something very different. The peer is just a represent, let's say, a computer owned by someone, by an organization. It can be 4 or 3, because of redundancy in such things. A company can have 5, 10, or 100.
Okay, there are two more questions, but just before I say that, can I attempt?
Yes.
You're the expert. Can I attempt
go on, please.
By saying, the peers are the nodes, and there is a one-to-many relationship between organizations and nodes. So an organization can have many nodes on a blockchain network, and the node could represent, like you said earlier, a node can be a PC or a laptop, a node can be a virtual machine, or it can be a Docker container. And the nodes are the peers. The organizations are the owners of those pairs. So 3 organizations could contribute 20 nodes into a blockchain network. Am I right?
Yes, that's very well explained.
So there are quite a number of questions. We're at the top of the hour now, about 1 minute to go, but I'll just keep on asking these questions. I imagine this is good engagement. Okay, so Samuel Uko is asking, the blockchain applications you are developing at Atos, which industries are those? Do you want to answer that first before I ask the next one?
I'm not sure I can say that.
Okay,
confidential. No, I can just say a case. It's not a case developed inside Atos, but it's a case pushed by the BCAO. I don't know the English for BCAO. It's the Central Bank of West African countries.
Okay.
The project is to communicate, to make the interacting all the mobile money, all the bank and all the financial service provider inside one network. The idea is that with my mobile money, I can provide my bank account, and with my bank account, I can make a transfer to someone which is inside decentralized financial services. So those cases can be made. We did reflect in those kind of situation in some company right now.
All right. Next question. Are there any organizations in Senegal already using blockchain applications on a commercial level?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Quick and short answer. Okay. The next question is from Felix Diaz, who is from Colombia. Felix, thank you very much. You are welcome. Thank you for visiting us here in Africa. His question is, we are working in a POC, a proof of concept with Hyperledger Fabric. My question is, must a peer have a chain code installed in order to endorse transactions?
Yes. Chain code is central in Fabric network. There are 3 kinds of chain code though. There are system chain codes, which make let's say some low-level operations, like endorsing, like giving the name, like defining the channels. I didn't talk about the channels, but it's an important part. And those channels, and who can who can communicate via that channel, to whom are some system chain codes. And there are business chain codes that the participant in the network are writing, and who contain the business rules. And there are one other chain code, I don't remember it now. But anything inside the Fabric is done with a chain code. Even the writing in the ledger is via a chain code. So chain code is central to Fabric.
Okay, once again, if I may, can I attempt to simplify?
Yes. Go on,
by saying a chain code I think what you're trying to say is that every behavior or every action that the blockchain network carries out, whether it's self-directed or to the external world, is achieved via chain code. So the chain code is like the muzzle of the blockchain network. So it is therefore compulsory for the pairs to have chain codes. Thank you. So any others? Guys, don't forget, do you have any questions about the first presentation as well, the business supply chain oriented presentation? Okay. All right. I'll just try to wrap up now, and then I would say, while I'm doing that, I'll give us about a few minutes to go through the chat window. There's a number of links that have been shared at various times by some of our experts. Gerard is one of the blockchain experts in IBM South Africa, and he shared a couple of links in the chat. So just go to the chat window, you see some links there over the last hour and a half. Jube Sile is also in South Africa, also shared some resources, some links in there. Okay, so there's a question just before I do the wrap-ups. There's a question from Samuel. Has any country in Africa already implemented blockchain for supply chain? Well, I think one way to answer that would be to talk about and to look at Gerhard's comment at 5:26 p.m. in the chat window. So there's the IBM TradeLens solution built on Hyperledger Fabric. There's the Food Trust solution as well, also built on Hyperledger Fabric, that are live solutions. I also know that the Nigerian Customs, okay, has a blockchain solution that has been operational for a few years. So those are my own answers. If anybody has any other answers, please feel free to go ahead.
I know there is I don't know if a company in Senegal, its name is Gainde 2000, and they are working in blockchains and things, but I don't know really exactly if it is in supply chain, but they work a lot with customs. You just remind me of them right
okay
now.
All right. Okay. Can we just discuss, just before we go, I think we can be done in about 5 minutes. Can we just quickly discuss again those questions that I asked in my opening presentation of the updates, which is, what's the frequency of the meetings, and do we want to have a number of targets? So.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, so I was thinking if we could be doing this once in a month, for me, that would be my view, once in a month. I don't know if it's too short or it's too frequent, but I think having a virtual meetup once every month would be fine. Depends.
Okay. So that's one person. Yeah. Any other opinions? Yeah. Any other takers?
I had the same thought. Once a month could be, that would be like a very ambitious goal, but achievable.
Yes.
Yeah,
achievable.
Definitely achievable. I mean, establishing cadence is what I think is most important. So if all our minds are tuned to once a month, it's kind of automatic in terms of logistics and stuff like that. So, all right. Yes. Okay. So, is that enough to form a consensus? Does anyone else have an opinion?
Well, I like that. And if it's regular, we can also know in advance so we have plenty of time to promote. And yeah, I think that's a good plan.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank
I guess the only other thing I want to ask about is, like we had talked about it before, do we want to alternate languages? Do we always want to do English, or do we want to alternate?
Yes, that's important, because I promised to the Senegalese community that they could ask question in French, and I answered them in French.
Okay, I mean that makes sense. We must be able to support French as well. So somehow, yeah, we must be able to do that. You know, perhaps the alternating suggestion is a good one.
There might be other way. I mean, that's just a thought. I mean, if you prefer to do it a different way, that's great. But yeah, I'd want to make sure that the community across Africa is, you know, being, you know, supported. So if multiple languages make sense, we could do that.
But I should say that besides Senegal, there isn't any French-speaking country in the group.
For now, before we add other countries.
At the start of the things, we had Burkina and Morocco.
Yeah. So they're there. Yeah. I spoke to the organizer of Burkina Faso recently.
Oh, okay.
He was here.
So that's something that maybe we could do if we want to move forward with an Africa chapter. We can just do more reach out to the meetup organizers who haven't been involved with this so far.
Yes.
Okay, so that kind of answers, that kind of moves us to the next question mark that I have on the screen, the target countries. So it's just a guideline. I just wanted to raise it as a talking point. Do we want to set a target for ourselves, you know, to add more countries to the group, you know, our brothers and sisters in other countries? Or how do we want to approach, you know, getting a more inclusive community across the continent?
Yeah, I think that would be great. Again, I think there's some existing meetup organizers right now that we haven't fully engaged with. So like Egypt and, you know, for example, has a meetup. And I think, you know, maybe bringing the existing meetup groups online into these activities would be good. And then, you know, yeah, we could look for organizers that want to spin up meetup groups in new countries. That would be great.
Okay. The last point is combined membership. That's kind of a derivative, because if we have a certain number of target countries, membership automatically grows. So
what is combined membership?
Okay, so in the previous slide, right now, adding up the memberships as at last week when the slides were presented, if you add up the memberships of these 7 groups, it comes to about 1,500. So that's what that represents. So I'm just thinking, as a goal, do we want to set 3,000 by December? Do we want to grow this community to 3,000 by December, or do we just want to do it without a goal in mind?
Always set a goal.
Yeah, I think goals are good.
Yeah, goals are, yeah.
Okay, so do we feel confident that we can double it by December? We have 6 months to plan that.
Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah, for sure. If we're doing something regularly and have something to promote on a regular basis, sure.
If you are more visible, like David is saying, there's plenty of chance to have more members.
Okay, so that's pretty much me. I would just like to say that I really enjoyed this session in terms of the learnings, and for me, as a personal aspiration, I would love to be able to use this avenue to help people to skill up in blockchain, and especially Hyperledger. And I'm seeing that happen already, you know, with both presentations that happened today. I myself, you know, as much as I think that I know a little bit about blockchain, I learned some new things today from both presentations. So I can imagine complete newbies would have learned some things as well. If we can perhaps embed these kinds of community sharing spirit in our meetups, I think the community, the entire continent will be better for it. So that's me.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, any other comments, and we can close?
Yeah, I'm just glad everything went smoothly, and I'll post the recording so we can also promote out the work you can do on our YouTube channel. So I think a lot more people will see this on YouTube as well as soon as that's posted. So
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
There is someone who wants to intervene.
Someone was saying something.
Okay, yeah, that's me. I wanted to thank everyone for actually contributing to the success of this virtual meetup, irrespective of what we experienced the last time. Okay, me personally, I learned a lot, technical side. It was I enjoyed Oumar's presentation, and Oumar, your English is on point. Your English is really clear. I understood everything.
Thank
It was
you.
very fluent. Your English is on point, seriously, from my point of view anyway. And I'd love to thank Idowu. Idowu is a natural,
Our
he's like an
MC.
event planner, our MC, exactly. I enjoyed everything from beginning. He reminded me of my time, so I was always, So I'd love to thank everybody. I would love to thank everybody. Gerhard, I want to thank David, everybody, Oumar, the visitors. Thank you for coming, and I hope, God willing, that we continue to grow and develop and expand. Okay. So thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Gerard, hold on, please. Gerard, I see your thumbs up. There's someone raising their hand. Adulu Mila,
Yeah.
do you want to say something?
No, it's all good. I think we can stop the recording.
Okay.
David, all good.